let's be honest. Most of you have probably had some kind of conversation like that at one point, right? And so whether it be before you got in the car or after you got in the car, I don't know if you kind of saw, that whole car dealership, that might have took some of you guys by surprise, right? But you probably had one idea what the video was about. But there's some truth to that, right? There's some truth to that. Now, there's one thing, we're starting a new series today. It's called Rethinking the Church. And to begin, I thought that was a great video because sometimes whether it be as believers or if you're just interested in just when it comes to church, when it comes to God, you're curious. Maybe it's been a while since you've been in church and you want to try it out again and you don't know what it's like. Have they changed things? What's new? What's not? Or, are they going to be, you're going to feel accepted? We tend to have this consumer approach to the church. Now, let's be honest, I can't blame a lot of you guys. Because much of our lives is, especially nowadays, much of our lives is so customizable. I mean, we have options like we've never had before. For example, when me and my wife, when we first got engaged, right, that time between getting engaged and getting married, for those of you that have done it, how fun is that? Okay, that's a lot. It's fun, but it's like, crazy, pulling your hair out at the same time. There's just so much going on, right? For the guys, not so much, right? I mean, the girls are even more. I don't know. We're just let me know when, right? I don't know. But a lot of times, that time in between getting engaged and getting married is crazy. I mean, and forget just a wedding, because a wedding alone can take up a lot of time and focus and attention. But really, if you think about it, you're prepping and preparing for what's going to happen when the wedding's over. Like, life starts with the person. You're going to move in with a boy, right? You're going to move in with somebody that you've never been with. And you're not going to be with mom and dad anymore, maybe, to a certain extent, who knows. But, you're going to start a new life. Right? You're going to start a new life with somebody. And so that is stressful. Like, okay, how are we going to handle bills? How are we going to handle this? Who's going to be responsible for that? There's a lot that goes into that time between getting engaged, getting married. There's a lot of decisions you need to be making, forecasting the future. Now, one thing that made it fun, and it was a little stressful, but it made it fun, was we got to purchase a house during that time period. And it wasn't just any kind of a house. We got to kind of build a house, which was really cool. So if you've never had the opportunity, the blessing, I pray that you do, one day. But it was kind of nice. We got to go to a subdivision that was developing, a little further north. And we got to actually not just buy a home, but build one. So we go, and it started out on a sheet of paper. And we got to pick out, okay, which lot do we want? Do we want this one? Do we want that one? Okay, this one. We like that one better. Okay, well, what model do you want? Okay, there's a 2-story, there's a 1-story, there's a 4-bedroom, there's a 3. Which one do you want? So we get to pick one, right? And not just that, we got to pick the color, the exterior, the door, the door color, all of these things, right? Even the inside, right? The color of the grout. I was like, I had no clue what grout was. I'm like, what is grout? And so, the color of the grout, the tiles, all of these things. We got even the appliances. We got to go into a store. Oh, I want that appliance, this appliance, that. And so it was kind of cool on, what we were able to do. I mean, in essence, me and Alicia, when we first purchased our home, we got to technically customize the home according to our liking, but also according to the budget. Because there was a lot of things that we had to make, no. Okay, though we liked it, we didn't have the money for it. And so, okay, to a certain extent, we got the house that we could afford, but we liked. And so we got to have those options. But guys, if you be honest, if you think about it, how much of our lives is customizable like that? So much. Now between, there's so many ways of viewing media that we get to do it our way. Music, we get to listen to music we want to, watch the shows that we want to on our time, right? More and more you're seeing a lot of products and a lot of things just adjusting to your preferences. I even saw this one thing new. Now there's this company, I think it's Adidas, that you can 3D print your tennis shoes and exactly to the mold of your foot. So you send in the scan of your foot, and they will print a tennis shoe that will fit your foot perfectly. Now, that's pretty crazy on how personalized things can be. But if, as awesome as those blessings are, let's be honest, guys, those blessings require a personal responsibility because you're not always going to get everything you want, the way you want it, how you want it, when you want it, right? I mean, let's be honest. You're in school, okay? Is everything the way you would love it to be at school? No, all right? There's just things you're just going to have to deal with. All right? Do some of you guys have a job that you're like, no, I love it as is, not changing a thing? Well, I'm pretty sure some of you, there's things about your boss or things about your job that you wish you could change, right? Or customize to your preferences and purposes or whatever, right? You would love to do that. Even with people, okay, we can't do that. Okay, you just can't go and say, you know what, I need a new best friend, or I want the perfect spouse. And so you can't go to a website, go to a store, and customize the perfect individual like if it was some Build-A-Bear stuffed animal, okay? You can't do that, right? You can't do that. You know, especially from experience, I know that the more you try to, you can't change someone. A person can't change someone, right? And so there's certain things that we cannot approach as a consumer, right, when it comes to people, but also when it comes to the truth. When it comes to even the church and when it comes to God, we cannot approach him and God as a consumer. Meaning we just can't say, okay, you know what, all right, I like in the Bible, okay, you know what, I like this and I like that, and no, I'm going to skip that one, no, I don't know about that, all right, I like this and that. You can't pick and choose when it comes to the truth on how you want things to be done to a certain extent, right? I mean, people technically pick and choose when it comes to the church, right? Many of you are here for a couple of different reasons. There was something about this church that you liked, right? And that kind of met your need. Most parents, especially if you have kids, they choose a church not so much on where God is leading them, but on where their kids are leading them, right? And it's like, hey, if they got stuff to offer my kids and it's great, all right, perfect, great. I mean, a lot of you guys that have come here regularly, you've stayed because there's something that you liked, right? And I don't blame you. I mean, you can't blame people for putting their family first to a certain extent. I get it. Some of people don't stay because there's just things that, I don't know, just don't like. Totally get it. If you are a better fit somewhere else, totally got it. I don't blame you guys. But we have to be careful with playing this consumer game on when we want to do things, how we want to do them, and the way we like for them to be done. Because if you ever read the Bible, guys, I'll tell you right now, if you don't trust me, you can read it. I'm not making things up. This constantly has accounts of things going wrong every time people try to live their life in the way they seem right. It always goes wrong. When people start to pick and choose the truth, when people start to pick and choose how they're going to approach God, when people pick and choose and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, things always go wrong when they choose to live according to the way they seem right. A lot of people want the blessings but don't want the sacrifices that comes with it. Can I say that one again? Okay, I'm going to say that one again. A lot of people want the blessings that come from God. They want all the good stuff. But they don't want to put in the work. They want to, is there some cheat code? Is there some other way, right? I want the blessings, but I don't want the sacrifice. So how do I get to do that? And some even think that, hey, by attending a church service the way we're doing, right? You showed up. I should get some credit, right? To a certain extent, you might, but not really. I mean, think about it. Look, right now the NFL just kicked off the playoffs, right? Just because if I was able to attend, let's say we're talking about the Super Bowl, okay? February 5th, that's when it comes out. Let's say I got to go to the Super Bowl game. Let's say my favorite team was at the Super Bowl. Just because I'm there in attendance, just because, let's say my team wins the Super Bowl, are they going to ship me a ring because I showed up? I was in the stands. Are they going to ship me a ring? No, because I wasn't on the team. I didn't put in the time practicing. I didn't suffer. I didn't scrap. I wasn't there grinding with everybody else. I wasn't in the weight room. I wasn't in the study. So just because I showed up, just because I had the hat on, the shirt on, whatever, and our team won, I get to enjoy it, but I don't get to experience a true blessing. Do you see that? And so, guys, one of the things when we're talking about rethinking the church over the next 4 weeks, I want you to do just that. Let's rethink, what is the purpose of why are we doing this? Why are we showing up on a winter storm 2017, right? That's for us, right? Tampa winter storm 2017, okay? Woo, it was like 29 degrees outside, right? That's not life for us, okay? I saw someone say, look, somebody tell Florida to turn the heater back on because what just happened, what happened? It's not what it's supposed to be like. And so why do those things? Why show up on a Sunday? Why be a part of a church? Why, when we talked about offering, why contribute? What is the point of it all? And so this is the time, guys, that a lot of people are looking towards New Year's resolutions, right? Rethinking their life, reevaluating their life. And that's what I want to encourage us to do here. If you're able to attend a Sunday, or if you happen to miss one for some reason, going online and catching up. But we are doing just that. We're saying, all right, let's go back to basics. What is the point of why we are here? What is the point of this all? Because if we don't understand the reason why we show up to a church or why we participate in a church, how do we know if we're wasting time or not? How do we know if we're making an impact if we don't even know the purpose and the function that we're supposed to fulfill? How do we know we're winning the game if we're not keeping score? Does that make sense? And I want you to understand that. The day that this becomes something that I just do and show up because it's a job, that's the day I'm just going to quit because that's not the point. Okay? I want none of you to ever get to the point of saying, well, it's just Sunday, it's what we do, and so here we go. Okay, and then time to go again. I never want you to get to that point because there is something about the church that is both beautiful and awesome and powerful. And I want us to never lose sight of that. So that's what we're going to do over the next couple of weeks. And today we're going to start by looking at a church that was a mess. Okay, they, like me and my wife, we were picking things. Okay, we want to do that. We like that. We can't do that. We do this, right? How many of us are? This one church had a very consumer mindset, and they were picking and choosing certain things. And there was something about this church that it was a mess. Okay, this church was a mess. It was a mess, and they were unable to impact their city because they had lost sight of the mission. They were a mess because they lost sight of the mission. And so the Apostle Paul is writing these letters a couple decades after the time of Jesus. And we have these original letters. And so here he's writing this church in the city of Corinth, getting them to rethink what they think. Because there's something off. And because when this one thing is off, then again, everything becomes a mess. And they're just wasting their time going through the motions. All because they failed to remember and keep their eyes on the mission. So let's look at this word. We're going to start with chapter 12, 1 Corinthians. We got it on the screen for some of you guys who don't have the Bible. If you have it, you'd like to read it, it's in 1 Corinthians 12. And we're going to read 12 through, I believe, 20. We're going to read these first couple slides together. So starting in verse 12. For just as the body is one and has many members, and all of the members of the body, though many are one, so it is with Christ. For in one Spirit we were all baptized into one body, Jews or Greeks, slave or free. And all were made to drink of the one Spirit. For the body does not consist of one member, but of many. If the foot should say, because I am not the hand, I don't belong to the body, that would not make it any less a part of the body. And if the ear should say, because I am not the eye, I do not belong to the body, that would not make it any less of a part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would be the sense of hearing? If the whole body were an ear, where would be the sense of smell? But as it is, God arranged the members in the body, each one of them, as he chose. If all were single member, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts. Yet, how many? One body. And so, guys, the one thing that he's trying to get them to rethink, Paul is trying to get these Corinthians to rethink one thing and rethink what is the church. And he starts, in essence, by saying, first, remember how you got in here. Okay? This is not some kind of club that you had to pay a membership fee on. You didn't have to do an application and fill it out to be able to be accepted. Okay? Like some of you guys are going to be doing a college and maybe in a couple of years or so. This was not like that. Okay? You didn't have to do some, like a job interview and show up and so what are your best traits? And let me know and all that. Okay, that's not how you got in the church. Because if you see here, this was something that God did. He used this word baptize. Okay, it's a Christian word. Some of you guys might have seen somebody get baptized, right? It's when some dude, right, a pastor, usually somebody like me, takes somebody, dunks them in a bunch of water, right, willingly, okay, lets me put them and hold them under water, and then, obviously, I pull them back out. Part of that process is it's a way that being baptized is a public declaration of a spiritual reality. It is showing that I believe in Jesus. It's one thing. But there's also some symbolism into that. As a pastor baptizes a person into the water. That's what Paul's talking about. When you believe in Jesus, which, by the way, that is the criteria. How do you get in? How can you belong to the body of Christ? How can you belong to the family of God? Believe. I think Tatiana mentioned that earlier today as we started. It was in believing. When you believe in Jesus, that's where it starts. When you believe in Jesus, you immediately, when you believe that he was the Son of God, when you believe that you are a sinner, that you're not a perfect person, and you needed a Savior, when you believe those things, and when you believe that he died on the cross because he loved you, when you believe that God sent his only son for you because you mattered, when you believe these things, and when you believe that if you ask for forgiveness that he's forgiven you, and when you believe that he's done it, okay, at that moment, the Spirit of God is baptizing you into the family of God. You are now included. You're not like halfway in, like your toes kind of there. No, you are 100% in the family of God. That's what the Spirit does. When you believe in Jesus, you immediately belong to the family of God. Notice the words here. He says, this member, this thing that God did, he chose you. He made it happen, and he put all the pieces together. So he's the one that determines it, not anyone else. But I love the analogy here. You see this analogy, this theme that he's running with. He's comparing the church to what? A human body, right? Even though you are all individual people, one body, right? You all have different parts. Obviously, there's a head, shoulders, knees and toes, right? There's a bunch of different things there, right? But even if you think about it, my arm is a body, but how many parts make up my arm? Okay, well, there's the upper arm, the elbow, the shoulder, right? The forearm, the wrist, the hand. But then you break one of those off. Let's say it's my hand. How many parts make up my hand? The palm, right? The wrist, the fingers. Let's go down to the smallest. How many parts? One little pinky. How many parts make up the pinky? Well, a couple of bones here, some ligaments, tendons. There's things in your body that you don't even see, right? You just see one thing, but there's things that are unseen that make it up. But then with modern technology, I would have loved to have seen Paul's face. He might have believed, he might have known it to a certain extent. But with modern technology, we even know that the small cell, the cell inside your body, which some thought that was the smallest thing in you. When technology rolled around and then poof, we busted that bad boy open, that tiny little cell is full of millions of microscopic organisms, all little, it's a perfectly tuned machine. Even the smallest cell is made up of millions of parts. It's amazing when you see those things. And here he's making this case. Look, you guys are one body. You are a one body, and you're supposed to function as a body does, you know, together, right? This is what it's supposed to be about. But there's some issues here, guys. The thing is, and you're going to see here, there's two groups, there's two camps that he's going to address. One he just did. Because there's a group of people in this body that feel like they're a nobody. Did you kind of catch that a minute ago in the previous verses? He feels like there's some people in this church, he's talking to them. He's saying, look, you're in this church, but you feel like you're a nobody in this body, right? It's like, look, it's like saying, hey, I'm the eye, but, you know, I can't do what the foot does. And so if I can't do what the foot does, then I guess I don't serve a purpose here. You know, it's like, again, like the hand saying, you know what, I know I'm the hand, but man, I'm not the ear. You see what the ear does? Man, I wish I was like the ear. So I guess my hand, whatever, I ain't going to do anything. And so he's pointing these people out because these people are falling into this comparison trap. Guys, how many of us have we ever done it? If you're in school, remember those of us that were in school, you remember, right? You start seeing, right, so-and-so, like, man, how come he gets all the girls? Or how come that person gets, you know, they get invited to go out all the time and meet, I don't, right? We always play this comparison trap, right, of being jealous of people or saying, man, I wish I had what they had. Or we see, man, I don't know. And we get this comparison trap, but what happens is this false pride enters in. And you know, you guys all know what pride is, right? Pride is when we feel like this, but there's an essence of false pride that is, it devalues your gift. It devalues a person. It's like, it's not just beyond low self-esteem. And so here, these people are dealing with false pride. They feel like a nobody in the body. That's almost the equivalent, guys, of me saying right now, and some of you, I wouldn't be surprised if you feel this way. You know what? I call Tabernacle of God Church my home. I call it my church. Yet I feel like a nobody in this body. Because, see, I must not be a value member of this church because I'm not the fill in the blank. Guys, some of you guys do that. I guarantee you there's people that do. You know what? I'm not that important because I'm not the pastor. I'm not important because I can't sing. I'm not important because I can't public speak. I'm not important because I'm not old enough. I'm not important because I'm not smart enough. I'm not important because I don't got my act together like that person does. I'm not important enough because I'm not as spiritual as somebody else. Have I hit one? Am I missing any? Right? There's a lot of you that think, I'm not important enough because I haven't been following Jesus as long as so-and-so has. And so here's the thing. Those people who devalue their gifts, it's like they're quitting on the body. They are not engaged. They're not, or maybe if they are, they're not doing it with passion. They're not doing anything because they feel that they have nothing to contribute. They are nobody in the body. But guys, let me tell you, how does your body work if there's just random parts of it that just feels like just not working at the moment? How would things go? All right? How would things go? You guys ever had your knee just pop out of you just randomly walking, all right, or something like that? Some of us, we're getting a little older. Those of you, if you like to work out on leg day, right? After leg day, everything just feeling like jello, right? And you're just going and you just, whoa, right? And your knee goes or your quad go, whatever. It just says, I'm done, bro. It's like, I'm giving up. I need a break. Give me a break. And so that happens, right? And imagine that. Some of us, have you ever had your leg fall asleep, right? You're sitting crisscross, whatever. You try to stand up. You ever try to do one of those, right? As a little kid, make your leg go to sleep or your hand or whatever, just whatnot, and see how, it doesn't work that way, And so here's the thing. He's trying to encourage these people because they're sitting on the sideline. They're not doing anything because they feel like they are being undervalued. No one is appreciating them, and because what they're involved in is maybe it's unseen, it's unnoticed, they feel like a nobody in the body. of Christ. And he has a problem with that because he's like, no, 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 no. He's like, no, that is a lie. You're not. You should not, but you have to rethink. If you think you're a nobody in this body, you need to rethink that because that is a lie. I mean, and we know it. He kind of says it here. It's like even the smallest part of us plays an important, very, very important role. The smallest part of our own body plays a very critical role. And so we have to be careful. In the same way he's saying, look, don't think like this, okay? We have to be able to do the same. You know, like, well, I'm not a valued member because I don't hold a leadership position. Or I'm not a valued member because no one says thank you. You know, like, I'm not a valued member because I don't collect a paycheck. Whatever it is. All of those things, guys, are a lie. And so after here, he says, look, there are many parts, yet one body. All of the parts are important, big and small, all of those things. But now, if we had one group, okay, who were dealing with false pride, and this one group was struggling, and they were saying, you know what, we're a nobody in this body. Paul is now going to talk to the other group. And this other group is overvaluing their gifts. They are overvaluing themselves, and they feel like they are somebody special and better than everybody in the body. That's what these next group is. Let's read it. If we can look at 1 Corinthians, we're going to read now verses 21 through 31. We're going to go to 21 through 31 now. So it says, the eye cannot say to the hand, I have no need of you, nor again the head to the feet, I have no need of you. On the contrary, the parts of the body that seem to be the weaker are the most indispensable. Okay, I lost that part. The ones who are the most indispensable. There we go. Okay, and are the parts the most indispensable? There it is, okay. And on those parts of the body that we think less honorable, we bestow greater honor. And our I've been struggling. I was practicing this word all week, man. All right, gosh, I totally failed. All right, our unpresentable parts are treated with greater modesty. And he continues on, which our most presentable parts do not require. But God has so composed the body, giving greater honor to the part that lacked it, that there may be no division in the body, but that the members may have the same care for one another. If one member suffers, all suffer together. If one member is honored, all rejoice together. Now you are in the body of Christ and individually members of it. And God has appointed to the church, first apostles, second prophets, third teachers and miracles, then the gift of healing, helping, administrating, and various kinds of tongues. Are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Do all work miracles? Do all possess gifts of healing? Do all speak with all tongues? Do all interpret? Does everybody have the same job description? No, there's a hypothetical. I mean, he's like, no. But earnestly instead, seek higher gifts. Seek the higher gifts, and I will show you a better way. Seek the higher gifts, and I will show you a better way. So here, guys, you kind of notice it right at the beginning. For those that say, you know what, I'm the eye, I'm not the foot, so I guess I'm not that important. There was the other group. Like, look, I'm the foot. I don't need you, eye, to do my job, right? I got this, okay? I can do this. And so this group of individuals he's now challenging and talking to, it's like saying, look, if you think you're somebody special in this body, that you're better than everybody, you need to check yourself. Because even though you might have a powerful position, right, or even though you might have a gift that people look at them like, wow, that's awesome, you need to humble yourself because you got to recognize that the only reason why you can do what you're doing is because all of these other group of people here that don't see their role and don't see what they do and are going unseen, they are the reason why you are able to do what you do. So your great gift would be nothing without them. So you see the kind of point he's trying to make. And you notice that he said this one thing, that he talked about division. There should be no division in the body. No division in the body. Everybody should know what is their function, what is their role, and to see the value and the purpose of it all. Now, one of the things, guys, that as a pastor we want to do that much more is if you don't understand what that is, you don't understand what things like spiritual gifts are, in an email that I will send tomorrow with a link of a lot of reminders and stuff like that, and a link that I will email you guys tomorrow, I'm going to recommend a book that was a big one for me that you guys could go check out. Maybe also a website that if you kind of wanted to just a quick review of just what are spiritual gifts and how can I discover those, how can I learn that I'm in my sweet spot, right? I'm going to send you guys something in an email. So if you haven't done that yet, you can do that on the connection card, find some other way to get that email to me, and we're going to email you guys that tomorrow. But the one thing, guys, is this, that here he's trying to tell everybody in this church, your abilities, your gifts that God has given you, your talents, experiences, These are not meant to cause and spark competition and division. That's not the point. The point is not to see who's going to outdo somebody else, like if it was some episode of The Voice, right, or something like that. We're competing against each other. That's not the purpose. Everybody's gift was meant to not compete, but to complement. Everybody in the body is supposed to cause, and the things that we do are supposed to foster unity, not division. And that's the whole purpose of it all. And they're a mess right now because they lost sight of that. And so here, in the same way, this is a great reminder for us, in that all the things that we've been given, what are we doing with it? Here even said, the one thing, everything that happens, okay, if it happens to one, it should impact everyone, right? If somebody does something great and somebody's honored for it, we celebrate with that person. We're not jealous. I'm like, man, I know, where was everybody last week when or whatever, right? Or I was like, man, I've been here a whole lot longer than that person, and that person's getting recognized, and whatever. And so none of that. That's when somebody gets honored, we celebrate with them. When somebody does something great, we champion that, right? When somebody suffers, we look to them as well. We look to them as well. And we're supposed to, what happens to one should happen to everyone. And here, guys, this is a unique body. When you compare this body to everybody else that's outside, okay? Here, you saw at the very beginning, he talked about this is a group that's made of Jews and Greek, right? Free and slave. Like, this is a group that there are no racial boundaries in this group. There should be none. There are no economic boundaries in this group. Guys, how does the world play in their sandbox? Okay? We play in these groups, whether maybe it's your culture, maybe it's your race, maybe it's your age, maybe it's where you were born, maybe it's where you live, right? It's how much money's in your bank or not. How often does the world outside tend to play nice with each other? They don't, right? And they don't. I mean, even now we saw on the news just that horrific case of those teenagers, right, in Chicago, where they took a special needs boy, right, and they tied him up and tortured him and put it on Facebook Live. Right? And it wasn't just the fact that they did what they did to him. It's the fact that they did it without remorse, right? Just they laughed and it was like nothing. They didn't see this boy as a human being. They didn't see him as a person worth of anything. Guys, and that's an extreme case, but the world plays like that. And so here as a church, guys, we are not just doing something for the sake of doing something and feeling better. We're not just here just to spend the time until Jesus goes and shows up like we're just waiting for our ride. So, okay, right? This is more than that, because here we ought to be and need to be the expression of the presence of God, because in this room right now, some of you guys don't know it, in this room right now, we got students, we got professors, we got people who are on welfare, and we got people who are doing really good. And you won't even tell the difference. We got some hard workers and we got some lazy people in the house, okay? But we love each other. We take care of one another. We challenge each other, right? We got some smart people and we got some not so smart people. Whatever, that just happens, right? Hey, we all got moments, right? We all got our moments. But see, this is a unique place. This is because a church that is truly united on what's important. When everybody understands their role, when the big, when the big things, when the people with the big gifts recognize the small, when those are in the small aren't jealous of the big, that we're serving each other, loving each other, okay? That is unique. We are showing a world, like what Paul said, a better way. Let me show you a better way. Seek the higher gifts. So it's like, look, it's not just about, you might admire, say, I'd love to, I feel like I want to public speak, I want to work on that. Okay, that's great. But you know what the higher gift is that we are all to pursue? Is not just doing and not all of this. He actually reveals that better way in the next chapter, which you're not going to look at. 1 Corinthians 13 is all about love. It's love. He says the higher gift is this. It's the gift of love that God has given you. Because when you take the gift of love and you attach that to the gifts that God has given you, watch out. Because that's when things starts to happen. That's when God starts to move. And the one thing that Corinthian church didn't have, as you can see, was love. Right? They didn't love each other. They either were jealous of one another, right, or devalued one another. There was no love there. But guys, every little piece is important. And even what happens to one has the ability to impact everyone. Some of you guys know the story, some of you guys don't. But when I was 27 years old, back in 2010, I got really sick. Okay, for those of you that don't know, I got really sick in 2010. And I had contracted a staph infection. And this staph infection actually impacted and it hit and attacked one muscle in my body. And this one muscle, I think I'm mispronouncing it, but it's called the iliopsoas muscle. The iliopsoas muscle it's in the inner hip area. It's kind of around here, the inner hip area. And the iliopsoas muscle is the strongest of the hip flexor muscles. These are the muscles that are deep down inside. And these muscles connect your femur and your tailbone and your hip and all these things. This is a sliver, skinny, thin little muscle. Now, you don't know, if I would have said biceps, you know what I'm talking about, right? If I say calves, you know what I'm talking about. If I say quads, chest, six-pack, you know what I'm talking about, right? And so, New Year's resolutions, what do people do? I was like, hey, whatever, I'm going to see if I can get a couple more inches, right? Or, hey, I'm going to work on that six-pack, right? No one in New Year's resolution is going to be like, you know what, I want to get that iliopsoas popping. I want to get that iliopsoas popping this year, man. I was like, bah, right? No one does that. No one thinks that. It is an overlooked. Obviously, raise your hand if you've ever heard of the iliopsoas muscle before, regardless of my story. Okay? Have you ever heard of it? Raise your hand if you've heard of it. Probably one. Okay, so this is man, you go to school, you're medical, whatever, you're in the doctor stuff. Okay, look, guys, it is an unknown, pretty much for most people, it is unknown. It is an overlooked muscle. And a lot of people think it's just unnecessary. It's overlooked, it's unnoticed. But guess what, guys? This staph infection attacked that muscle. It attacked that muscle so much that it stayed in a flexed, contracted state the whole time. Guys, I'm telling you, it was excruciating. And guess what the iliopsoas muscle does? This one skinny little muscle, it is essential for you to run, walk, and without this muscle, you would struggle to even stand. Guys, I am standing right now because my iliopsoas is better. Here's how I know, because when I started to get sick, the one thing that started to go? My right leg. Though as the day would go on, I would start to limp, and I would just have this limp. That limp, which at first just kind of looked like some wannabe little, kind of a limp like that, okay? That's what it started like, and then it was like, wait a minute, and then it became more pronounced. And this is within hours, then more. And I remember when I got home, I got out of the car, I couldn't walk. I had to crawl on the hood of my car to the garage door and have Alicia come and help me inside because something was wrong. And it was excruciating pain. There was no massaging. There was no way of stopping it. Guys, after 8 days in the hospital with 105 fever, lost 20-something pounds in 8 days, okay, I almost died. And after that, 8 days in the hospital, it took me 6 months to be able to learn how to walk all over again. I got out, I had to be in a wheelchair. Then from a wheelchair, when I was strong enough, I could get on a walker. After a walker, I had to have a cane. In fact, guys, this all happened weeks before the church, the special area service started. I will never forget my first sermon ever. I preached it with a walker and a portable IV that I had wrapped around my waist that was feeding antibiotics into my arm and into my heart. My first sermon ever. I was supported by a stool, a walker, and it was being kept alive by an IV. Okay? And what's amazing is that there's a lot of truth to that, and I'll never forget that. Because in the same way that I was supported by a walker and being kept alive by the IV, guys, I was supported by our humble little church, my friends and family back then. And I was kept alive by God's grace. And here's what's amazing is that one little teeny, weensy little muscle that none of you knew existed, that none of you even knew you had, okay, that one thing went out, and it impacted everything. Okay? I couldn't walk anymore. That one little muscle. And so, guys, the thing is, it works the same way with us. If you think that you're too good and you think, I don't need anybody, I got this all by myself, you are limiting yourself. And for those of you that feel like, I'm not important, I'm a nobody in this body, you are together we are holding ourselves back from what God can do. Each and every one of us matters. Guys, and I couldn't do what I did. I couldn't do what I do if it wasn't for a greater support. I know as a pastor, guys, a lot of times I get the limelight, I get the mic, I can talk as long as I want, right? And so I get a lot of attention, a lot of focus, right? I get that. And then we see a lot of pastors, right? Big pastors, maybe it's your favorite preacher besides me, all right? And so all these other preachers, right, you admire them, like, man, every time, man, they're always hitting it. Everything that they have to say, oh my gosh, it's like hitting my heart. But do you know that I guarantee you, the biggest pastors, you name it, and I'll confirm it, some of the biggest pastors and preachers and the writers that we all have that we admire, do you guys know they have teams? Some of the best preaching that you'll hear today in other churches, There was a team that has been working on that one sermon for like 3 months. And that one line, that when they said that one thing, my man's been practicing it for a couple of weeks. But that is so powerful because it's not just one man show. They've been doing it together. You guys know a lot of the stories that I use come from people in here. A lot of, and sometimes I'll hold it. And remember, it was, one time I was George and Jennifer. They shared me something, and I shared it. Like it was like a year and a half later, but I used it. A lot of the stuff that I do, it's, it comes from experiences, comes from testimonies from you guys. But again, just because, if you took that iliopsoas out, none of us could function in the way we do. Okay, you take certain things out of my life, and I can't function. Okay, you might see this great gift. Man, when I get those emails and posts and stuff, I'm like, Pastor, what you said today, I really needed to hear that. I'm so glad that I came here today. That really meant, it's like the one thing. It's like you spoke to me. Well, guys, you weren't there. You were maybe here to hear the message, but you weren't there during the week. For example, when my wife was watching the kids, so I can go think about that one thing that I said, right? You weren't there when I got to, get up early in the morning to do what I need to do, and my wife is, taking care of the kids or feeding them breakfast, right? You're not there in the mornings, or you're not there on Sundays when I'm running around and I'm praying and she's kind of locking it down, helping other people here. And so, guys, in the same way that without that iliopsoas muscle, I couldn't stand, okay? If it wasn't for her, I couldn't be here. And so if we're talking about honoring people that are sometimes overlooked and unnoticed, I wanted to do that and say, because you guys don't realize, guys, a lot of the blessings that you guys may experience and you guys may enjoy, you might see me, but you don't see her. Okay? You don't see that iliopsoas muscles, but it's essential. And without her, I wouldn't be the same. Okay? So, and in the same way, guys, without God, He's that missing ingredient. That love that Paul's talking about is the missing ingredient. So, Andy, can you come up here? Let me show you something, guys. Okay? Just stand right here real quick. Guys, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to say this quote from Francis Schaeffer, if we can put it up. It says here, our relationship with each other, meaning inside of the church, if you belong to a local community, your relationships with one another in the church is the criterion that the world uses to judge whether our message is truthful. Christian community is the ultimate apologetic. Apologetic means the proof that something is true. Okay? It's one thing to say it, but it's another thing that we live it and we show it and we display it. That's what the church is about. And if you want to improve your relationship with God, let me challenge you to start with your relationship with the people sitting next to you. That is a great way to grow your faith. But let me give you an example. So, all right, I got 4 words for you, okay? Do you trust me? Okay, 1-word answer, 4-word question. Do you trust me? Yes. Okay, you sure? Okay. All right, guys, look. I have a handful of rubber bands, okay? Okay? I'm going to throw it at your face, okay? You cannot block it. Put your hands behind your back. I'm not going to tell you, okay? You cannot block it. You can't flinch. You can't dive. You got to face me. What you looking at? No, this way, okay? All right. All right. Okay? Got it? No, yeah. You can keep your mouth closed. It's okay. All right. So, I'm not, this is not a trick. I'm not going to do anything else. I'm literally just going to throw this wad of rubber bands, this handful of rubber bands at your face. You got it? Okay. I need you to count down. 3, 2, 1. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay. That kind of popped pretty good. Okay. Did that hurt? Yeah. Okay. You sure? Yeah. Okay. All right. You sure it didn't hurt? Yeah. Okay. So look, just to prove my point, let's do that one again. Okay. So I'm going to throw, again, another handful of rubber bands at your face. Trust me? Okay. Okay. I got a handful of rubber bands. Okay. Here we go. Ready? Handful of rubber bands. All right. Count it down. Come on. 3, 2. Oh, did you really think I was going to do that? I was like, all right. Thanks, buddy. All right. All right. So, guys, look. Tell me, look. Okay. There's a difference between the two, right? Same, like an equivalent, same number of rubber bands. But which one has the ability to make the most damage and impact? This one or this one? This one does. Now, what's the difference? Let's say it's the same number of rubber bands. What's the difference? These are loose. These aren't connected. These are united. And when they're united, there's strength. Guys, we are stronger together through Christ than we are apart. We are stronger together through Christ than we are apart. But see, we kind of trick ourselves because on Sunday morning we get together, and this is what we look like on Sunday. On Sunday we look like this because we're all together. I'm like, hey, look at that. Woo! all right, having fun, worshiping Jesus, right, whatever, there we go. And then what happens on the second the service is over? Everybody in their own way, you know? And so now what I'm going to say is not anything critical. I just want you to think of this because I never want to become this, okay? And so which one obviously is more powerful? Which one has more potential? This one does. And so here's the beautiful thing about the church. You don't got to be in the vicinity to make a connection, right? And so, guys, I'm going to challenge you. We can be like this even when the service is over, okay? Because, look, I want to challenge you guys to pray. Well, talking about connect with God through weekly community. Notice I didn't say attend a service every week. That's not what I said. I said connect through God. Connect to God through weekly community. That means you can say, Lord God, who can I reach out to inside of the body that I haven't seen in a while? Who can I reach out to inside of the body to get to know better? Who can I reach across the aisle and get to know their name? I know their face, I don't know their name. Who should I reach out to inside the body that I might know their name, but I don't know anything about their life? Who can I reach out to? Who should I reach out to? And you know what happens with the body, guys? When one thing goes, what happens? Right? When that muscle went out, the other muscles did what? Overcompensated for the fact that muscle couldn't do what it did anymore, right? When you get a sickness and infection, what happens? When your toe hurts, right? When you stub it or you hit your knee, what happens, right? If I was walking and I'm going and I just bump into the chair, what is the initial reaction? Right? What happens to the hands now? The hands go to where the pain is, right? To hurt or protect or to soothe, right? That's what the body's supposed to do. And so the more our connections are like this, when somebody is hurting, it feels it, and somebody's there to love and encourage you. When your marriage isn't going the way it's supposed to, you got somebody to check in there and jump in before things get any worse. When you're not know what to do with your kids, you have somebody there. When you don't know if you need to make a life decision, you have somebody that's been there before, and they can speak into your life, guys. This right here, this is how we can do some damage to the devil and his systems out in this world when we're like this. And so I'm going to challenge you guys not just to reach out to the person inside the body, but think, who can I reach out to outside of the body? Guys, you know what some people do? Consumeristic perspectives. They'll look at a church like this, okay, 40 people. There's more empty chairs than there are people sitting in it. And so with a consumer mindset, some people may see, you know what? These people got 40. This one church down the street says 400. Or this one church down the street, man, they said for 4,000. So A-B compare, that church is better than this one. A-B compare, God's Spirit must be moving in that one, not in this one, okay? And people make those judgment calls. But you know what? Just like the body, I'm great. I celebrate the church that sits 4,000 people. I love that. That's awesome. Because guess what? They'll be reaching people that nobody can reach. But just because we're something smaller, does that mean we're any less significant? No, just that one little muscle. Just like that one little muscle is the same thing. Because there's people that we'll be able to reach that the big ones ain't going to be able to get. And so that's what matters. It's not this comparison trap. And I look at these empty chairs. Guys, here's the thing. As a body, you have to think of it this way. There's people missing in this body. You don't look at this and think of it as a negative. You don't look at this and think, okay, well, there's not that many people here, so something must be wrong. I was like, no. Something is wrong. There's something wrong in somebody's life. And God, how can you use me to reach out to somebody so that, Lord, I can help fill a chair so you can fill their life? You see the difference? So you can look at this as a negative, or you can look at it as an opportunity. I was like, you know what? We need more people. Who are we missing that needs to be a part of this body to help us make the impact that God wants to do? And so you can look at it those two ways. But guys, the relationships that we have together are critical. Guys, the investment that you make inside of the local church is the most important contribution you'll ever make in your life, outside of raising a godly family. I'm going to say that one again. When you invest your time, your talent, and your treasure inside of the local church, that is the number one, the best contribution to the world that you can do outside of raising a family. Because what the rewards that we reap, guys, we get to see them for eternity. Because it's not stuff, it's not money, it's not real estate, it's not buildings, it's lives, it's souls. And so I want us to make sure that we are rethinking all of these things. Because, guys, what matters the most is that we, guys, are more and more, we go into this image, that we are one church that's united with one mission, with one heart, with one spirit in Jesus Christ, with one love. And the more we're like this, the more we can make a bigger difference in our community, in the city, guys. Look, because again, church is not an event that you attend. It's a body you belong to. It's a community with a mission more than it is a meeting in a building. It is better than we think it is, and we need to make sure that we don't lose sight of the mission, guys. And what's amazing is that this group, what makes this group, the church, so unmistakable is the fact that it is made up of a bunch of former nobodies who have made their fair share of mistakes, yet, through God's grace, find themselves somebody in this body. A bunch of former nobodies who have made their share of mistakes find themselves through God's grace as somebody in this body. And that's the one thing, guys, I want you to walk. The bottom line for today is that, guys. If you believe in Jesus Christ, I want you to understand this thing. If you believe in Jesus, that he's died for you and you've given your life to him, if you believe in him, the bottom line is this. If you believe in him, you are now somebody in this body. If you believe in him, you are somebody in this body. You need to see yourself as somebody that is valuable, that's important. You are somebody in this body. You're not just a nobody, and you're not just better than everybody. No, man, you are somebody critical, and together God can do an amazing thing. Look, God used 12 to transform the world. Only 12. You're not telling me he can't do something with us? Just one little rock, you throw it in a lake, and the ripples will go throughout the entire lake. Guys, God can use any one individual. And I want you to understand that if you believe in Jesus, you are somebody in this body. You matter. And if you think you're a nobody, if you view yourself as nobody and you have nothing special to offer anybody, I'm here to tell you guys that God believes that you are so special. In Jesus' opinion, God's opinion, you are somebody that he loves so much that he came to this world to chase after you, to die for you, to pay for your sins. You are somebody that he cherished so much that he has pursued you despite your mistakes, despite your turns, despite you running from him. He has and is still pursuing you because you are somebody special to him that he wants to include in his family. He wants to include in this family. And guys, as long as we believe in Jesus, guys, you belong to this body. And not only that, you will become more like God. And even better, through him, you will get to build a legacy that will impact souls for all eternity. Guys, see, this is what the church is about. It's not just showing up, checking a clock, and going out and doing the next thing. Guys, when we get together like we're doing in worship and in the Word of God, we are constantly being molded and shaped into his image. So when we go back to our homes, we reflect Jesus as parents. We reflect Jesus as sons and daughters. When we go back to school, we're reflecting Jesus as students. We're reflecting Jesus as individuals. When we go back to work, we are a light even in those places. So this is not just anything. Going to church on Sunday is not just something to do, okay? It is an amazing community that you belong to, and that we are found strength and unity in not people and not personalities, but in the power of God's love. Guys, I want to pray for you guys as we wrap up.